This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Jeff Carl. I am Anthony Mormino. What I like to say is the day after opening day at Santa Anita, what is obviously a brave new world in Southern California with the Sunday closing of Hollywood Park and Thursday's opening of the Great Race Place, and a picture-perfect day weather-wise out in Southern California. And if you like $22 or $17 pick threes early in the day at Santa Anita, you were underway as the first four races saw the chalk win, and then it got
fun.
Let them loose, Bruce, after that. And ironically, in the two grade ones, we had one guy coming back and one guy going, with Gary Stevens winning the La Brea, and David Flores winning the Malibu. And in case you hadn't heard, I talked about David Flores, who was down at Fairgrounds and then was at Santa Anita. He was in Hong Kong earlier this year, and he's going to Singapore. He's probably in the air right now, but on the way out the door, he decided the Grade 1 Malibu was right up his alleyway. And a brilliant day of racing in Southern California. Obviously, it's a new era. And I know they have a giveaway, but I don't know how many spinners they have in Southern California. But the announced attendance over 30,000 on a Thursday afternoon.
Very nice. And what a nice race the Malibu was. A nice way for David Flores to kick off his trip to Singapore with a win on Shaking It Up, who was coming off a long layoff. We hadn't seen him since March when he was fourth in the Sunland Derby. But you know what, Anthony? A 7-furlong race, I've always felt it was a gut-wrenching race for a horse coming off a layoff. But David did the right thing. He just kind of let this horse find himself into a nice, easy stride up the backstretch. He was 12 lengths off the lead. All the damage was being done in front of him, and he gave him enough energy to finish up the race in fine fashion.
One of those things, you know, as a pace guy for me, if nobody won on the front end at Santa Anita yesterday. Now, maybe it was the racetrack, maybe it was the pace. You take a Shaking It Up. When you look at him down the road, one of the facilitating factors for him being 12 lengths off the lead was they went 43 and change for the opening half mile. A lot of times, you know, I say this about Honor Code. When you look at Honor Code's past performances coming down the road, his Remsen will look like he's up on the pace. No, the pace is up on him. The pace is on him. He ran his regular race. And him being 2 or 3 lengths off the lead is really a choice of the pace setters, as it will be with Shaking It Up. You look like, boy, he couldn't stay in touch with the field. No, the field ran away from him, and just a brilliant performance. I thought the La Brea, I was way against Sweet Lulu, but I have to say, kudos to her. And this is an example perfectly for our viewers out there. I know she broke from the rail going 7/8 in the test, and I talked about from really the second half of the year on. And now remember, the test wasn't the second day of the meet or the first Saturday. It was on the undercard of the Travers, where coming from the one hole, going 7/8 this year at Saratoga did not seem to be as penal as it was the previous 35 years for me. But she did win the test. You know, many people, including myself, maybe thought that My Happy Face didn't get the best chance to win. But nonetheless, she won the Grade 1 test. And yesterday, she lost the Grade 1 La Brea. She was brilliant in defeat at 4-5. And usually I am smiling like that type of cat who I can't think of.
The Cheshire Cat.
The Cheshire Cat at 4-5. But she was Herculean in defeat yesterday. Hair Kitty for Gary Stevens. And I'll tell you what, Gary Stevens has been winning the La Brea for more than half my lifetime. I know he won his first one when I was 24 years of age. And one quick note on the two Grade 1s yesterday. Since they have been Grade 1s, the Malibu and the La Brea, since about the middle 90s. So let's say 18 years, 2 races, 36 races, I think 3 chalks have won. And they went 0 for yesterday. I mean, they are prodigious races. Now, the unfortunate thing, and I've said this to Seth, you get no credit for those 2 races because very few voters ever count it on the year it was run, which is when you are supposed to count it. And obviously next year you get no credit for it because when the past performances come out, it won't come out that you did anything. And the best example I use is 1986 when Ferdinand beat Snow Chief. But Snow Chief had already wrapped up the 3-year-old championship, and that was also, I think, I talk about getting old a lot now. The Malibu hasn't been the opening day feature at Santa Anita forever. People talk like that, but in my lifetime, it wasn't the case. I know it was only a couple years before Ferdinand. I want to say Precisionist, and Precisionist was a 3-year-old in '84. They used to run it in January. Like, I'll give you an example. Look up Spectacular Bid, who put together the greatest Droop series ever. Look up the bid. I'm pretty sure his Malibu is in January sometime. They used to run the Palace Verdes on opening day. Now, you could say I am getting old, but I think it was the middle 80s when the Malibu slid into, and it was a grade 2 for many years. Matter of fact, it hasn't been a grade 1 except since '95. But the chalk always loses. And also, by the way, I don't think I saw it reported this way, but in the mile turf, the other good stakes race at Sir Beaufort, that was a stakes record put in yesterday on the mile. But a brilliant day at Santa Anita. The racetrack was playing fair. The pace was very, very strong, and it is to be determined whether it was the racetrack or the pace. But as I said, at Santa Anita yesterday on the dirt, nobody made the front and made the winner's circle on a brilliant afternoon of racing.
You know, the one interesting horse I really wanted to see run in the Malibu was Flashback. You know, and I thought, you know, when he was on the Triple Crown Trail the early part of this year, he gave you every indication that he might be a sprinter because he just wasn't quite hanging in there going 2 turns. Then I watched the Malibu yesterday, and I'm starting to think he's probably a 2-turn horse because he wasn't near the pace, and he actually finished up very well, nice and evenly. And I'm going to be very interested to see where trainer Bob Baffert goes with him next time. I don't know if he's a true mile and a quarter horse, Anthony, but maybe this is a mile and a 16th type horse.
My rule of thumb is, and I never trained in Marotta, but my rule of thumb is, as a bettor, is they never come back. I never. It's so infrequent, and you never get the price. I always bet against the name horses when they come back. I don't know what it is, but they just don't come back to the same. And the easy thing about yesterday's Malibu, if you watched it, because of the early pace, they were very much strung out.
They were stretched out,
but it's always easy to find Flashback because he's the nearly white horse. And I didn't like him yesterday. I mean,
I'm not saying if you like him.
I was like, I thought it was a pretty good nondescript, non-threatening fourth. I'm sure it's not what Bob Baffert was thinking going into a grade 1, but when all things are considered, I didn't think he was going to win that race. Going in, I didn't really have an opinion for him because I knew he'd be the chalk.
Right.
But I was like, he couldn't win that race. And like I said, you know, and that's how I look at races. Sweet Lulu got beat at 4-5, and I thought she was dynamic. And I hope that they do not continue on with the Lock and Yada series with her. I think the wise thing to do, and Jerry Hollendorfer got in the Hall of Fame, is skip the Lock and Yada series, what Mel Studi didn't do with very several years ago, and just wait to take on the Elders in the Santa Monica at 7/8 because she was great in defeat at odds on. And Flashback.
I'm just interested to see where Baffert goes with him next time. Does he keep him in sprint races or does he stretch him back out? To me, that's going to be interesting.
I make it 3-5. He goes on with the Stroop series.
Right.
He's going to stretch him out. He's not going to. There's a race called the Potrero Grande down the road at 6.5. You take on Elders, but it's too far down the road. It's not enough money, and you know, at the end of the day, there are some things that work, such as getting stud value, etc.
Exactly.
You know, grade 1s and distance of ground
pedigree
races.
He's a tapper, isn't he? He's a tapper, so the pedigree is there.
Who happens to be, no pun intended for the way he looks on the television screen, happens to be the white-hot stallion du jour, as it were. I mean, he's gotten into 6 figures for a season like Medaglia d'Oro has, and he had obviously a great wrapping up 2013. But a great day of racing yesterday at the Great Race Place, so they are underway there. If you get a chance, if you missed it yesterday, I know it was tough. I think they ran the Malibu like at late dinner time at 7 o'clock, and obviously it's a busy time of year. But look at Sweet Lulu. She was brilliant in defeat at 4-5, and as I said, David Flores on his way to LAX grabs the Grade 1 Malibu.
Anthony, we have a 10-race card to get through at Gulfstream Park today. Let's start with the opener. 6 furlongs. It is a claiming event for 3 and up, which have never won 3 races or which have not won a race since August 1st of this year. Claiming price is $6,250.
And, you know, quick note, Jeff was just going through the conditions. Other jurisdictions, which I generally am in charge of, you have to read the conditions. These aren't the New York tripod capital B races, the 3-year-olds. This is allowing older horses. This is basically taking the first and third condition, no middle condition for the 3-year-olds. So like this card today, I think from a betting standpoint could be very intriguing. I'm not so sure we'll see the march of favorites we saw yesterday at San Diego. 4, 7, and 6. JJ's Lucky Train, first off of the claim for Jorge Navarro. Now, this gentleman came to my attention when I was trying to figure out the difference between Josh Navarro and Jorge Navarro, and figured that out finally this past spring at Pimlico. But the part you don't have to figure out is, and do the math here, 8 months ago, would have been no radar screen for me. But having discovered this guy through my spreadsheets, I started to pay attention. And then you just see something. It is maybe the greatest stat I've ever seen for trainers. I kid you not. Jorge Navarro, who is already off to great guns at Gulfstream Park. How about this? First off the claim. You think David Jacobson in New York is good? How about this? From a field size of 54, that is a rather large field size. For me, once you get over 30 or 40, I start to believe the data. He is over 50%. Now it gets even better. His ROI is over 100% return on your money, over $4. I have never seen a sample size in thoroughbred, substantial, over 50 in this case, with those type of numbers. Now, his numbers for this meet is 38%. We see that often. You know, trainer goes into a jurisdiction. He's got some sharp horses, some live horses he was probably pointing to. But to make better than 50 claims and win with half of them, but for me, I mean, obviously that's unbelievably impressive. But for me, the ROI at better than $4, I mean, eventually, folks, you pay attention, the David Jacobson angle, good luck for David Jacobson being over $4 return on investment. But I finally figured out that Josh is the jockey and Jorge is the trainer, and this is first off the 6250 claim from the second week of what the Daily Racing Form statistically is calling the start of this meet, a claim out of the Fox Hill Farm. So number 4, JJ's Lucky Train on top. For a second, the outside horse, number 7, Fearless Cowboy. Jamie Ness, Midwest Thoroughbreds, off the $7,000 claim. Now, as I'm also concurrently following Tampa Bay, Jamie Ness, Mandy Ness over there, and here is the second reported runner at Gulfstream Park with Luis Saez in the saddle. And for third, at 5-2 in your hearts, first off the claim for Wesley Ward, but this was a $25,000 claim on September 29th at Gulfstream Park. Dylan Davis, who got right out of the box at this meet, and you know this is going to be Dylan Davis's second big-time meet at his apprentice allowance, and he passed with flying colors at Keeneland, and he's got the ball successfully rolling now. You know, the waters are going to get a little deeper when we turn the calendar, but he's obviously in the Wesley Ward barn, so he should do okay. But he is sitting on the 5-2 choice in the opener. 4, 7, 6 in the opener from Gulfstream Park.
Race number 2, Gulfstream Park, 1 mile. It is a maiden special weight event for 2-year-old fillies.
And not to duck the question as a public handicapper, but when you're looking at 40%, half the field, being first-time starters, I'll be intrigued to see where they go with the number 2, who I have no idea who Billy Ham is. Apparently, this will be the first horse that young Billy Ham, I presume, is putting on the racetrack, as he has no stats. It's offspring of elusive quality. That grabs my attention. Right next door, Bill Mott sends out a first-time starter who's by AP Indy. Now, you might be a little dismissive of that, but think about this. This is going a mile. This isn't a 6 or 5.5 furlong sprint. This is a mile, and I think Bill Mott would surprise you with some of the firsters he's won with at 8%. Also, you have number 5, Skidmore. Michael Matz, who I think the world of, has Stevie Wonderboy. And if you notice, if the jock information is correct, this is Joel Rosario. And if you watched the third race yesterday at Santa Anita, I know it's not going to happen. I've already read articles of people thinking about Gary Stevens as the Eclipse Award winning jockey. But the third race yesterday at Santa Anita, for me, that was the entire Eclipse Award on the line in the starter allowance and, the second race. And Joel Rosario was the reason that horse won, and Javier Castellano finished second. But for me, it's 8-3-5. Awesome Nicole, I think, the morning line odds person tells me this horse is going to get lost in the shuffle. This is the third career start. We're going to get blinkers this afternoon. And the second one tipped the scale to me, thinking that the first one was just practice. The first one was just practice, I think, and then the second one from a rough outside position just gave me a completely different dimension, and I think we attacked from the outside this afternoon. We've shown an ability going the mile to run better. I think today we get the best performance to date. It's fair to say that if they go hog wild over some of the firsters, whomever they are, they might know something. But at 10-1 on the morning line, third career start, which is one of my favorite angles, and I'm almost assured to get a solid price. Awesome Nicole, my top pick. For second, one of the aforementioned firsters, it is number 3, Secret Someone. Bill Mott sends out this offspring of the great AP Indy. Now, also remembering, you know you're getting old when you have the Blood Horse edition of when AP Indy was sold as a yearling for $2.9 million, and now he is a pensioned stallion. Not only is he a pensioned stallion, this is the end of his bloodline. I misspoke. This is the end of his offsprings. These are the last 2-year-olds. So Secret Someone, being that it's December 27th, is going to be probably one of the last, if not the last juvenile to debut for AP Indy. And I could say I was there from the beginning. And for third, number 5, Skidmore, the offspring of Stevie Wonder Boy, who you might not think of as a precocious first out stallion. But remember, folks, this is a one-turn mile in the hands of the brilliant Michael Matt. So an intriguing race, 8-3-5 for me in the second from Gulfstream.
Yeah, that number 5, Skidmore, is very intriguing. He sees him laying down some pretty serious works at Prairie Meadows for Michael Matz. Moving on to race number 3 at Gulfstream Park, 1 mile on the turf. It is a claiming event for fillies and mares 3 and up, which have never won 3 races or have not won a race on the turf since October 1st. Claiming price $30,000 down to $25,000.
And it's a field of 11 on the turf because the 5, Oasis at Midnight, is an MTO. 11, 2, and 8. And as I said, I certainly hope it's the end of the 7.5 furlong turf races, but you don't get much of a break when you take the number 11 going the mile with the short run. And what surprised me, and make note of it, please, when an announcement comes out, Gulfstream Park is one of those tracks at Daily Racing Form. They give you the rail position usually in the past performances. There is no listed feet. They might be running on the hedge here, and that can only help. Why? Because that means they'll be starting farther up in the stretch for this run. But I'm going to be paying attention to see if they make an announcement. But win for Kitty, trying to go 3 for 3 at Gulfstream Park. Yes, we had the parking lot starting gate, but we do have Joel Rosario in the saddle. We saw this horse win, breaking the maiden in for a tag, and then winning next out in an optional claimer under Joe Bravo. Now, I think it's fair to say most people know going back about 3 years. Matter of fact, it was in races such as the La Brea. I think the world of Joel Rosario, and he has a horse that I think he can read a racing form as he sits on this horse for the first time. It's like, I get the parking lot. I have to cut out a trip, but I'm not going to be gunning for the lead. I'm going to take the Mormino 45-degree angle over, and I'll trust his skill set to get us home on a turf course that obviously number 11, Win for Kitty, relishes, as she is 2 for 2 there. For second, number 2, Gene Surprise, who is 8-1, and I thought comes off of a nice effort at this level. 2L gets Edgar Prado this afternoon. Is for third, number 8, Magical Powder, who was 8-1 on the board, coming off of a brilliant run at better than 30-1, racing a mile at Gulfstream Park. So in a wide open third, 11, 2, and 8.
That's going to take us to race number 4 at Gulfstream Park. It is 6 furlongs, a maiden claiming event for 2-year-old fillies. The claiming price is $12,500.
And I don't know if they took the same plane. It would make sense that they did, but young Mr. Castellano will be my top pick in here. 10-1-4. I say that because they were both out at Santa
Plenty of leg room on that plane, man.
Yeah. If you were sitting in the aisle in front of them, you could feel comfortable. See, it's okay for a fellow jockey who had the same situation. I could not get away with saying that line, but I'm sure they're flying. Not to be. they would fly first class? I don't mean
More
to
than
be stupid.
likely.
Yeah.
More than likely.
Yeah. Now, when you do something like this, I don't mean to get out there. Yesterday, obviously, they flew out there to ride Grade 1 races.
Yes.
And I don't know if folks know this, but the jockeys don't pay. Their ticket is picked up to fly out. Now they're really sort of just going back to work. Do they just fly the return on the people bought them a round trip ticket, I
Yes.
trust. So
Yes.
they fly them out, they get them back home. So they have
Correct.
no expense getting out there. And I'm being facetious because there's a 95% chance they took the same flight back. They
More
got
than
done with work at the
Yeah.
same time, and you get out of LA, got to think there's a nonstop into Miami, so they probably got home relatively early, but they're riding now their regular thing. So I'll take the 10. Dropping down in the claiming tag, maiden claiming tag, where this horse has always run, but this horse has fired and hit the board in almost 67% of the races while always running for a tag, and I get the brilliant Javier Castellano, who, as I've said before, I'm going to be okay. I have known Javier for a long time. It is impossible not to like him. Been around following since '99, and he's probably going to win the Eclipse Award. I think he's the second best jockey in America this year, but he takes them out here, and I think going the one-turn mile, shortening up here to 6 furlongs with this horse might even be better. For second, number 1, drawing the rail, Joe Rocco Jr. This horse also dropping in after a good effort at Indiana Downs, taking the October 4th layoff. First 3 starts were fine enough efforts, maiden special weights, and actually regressed maiden claimers, but that just might have been a situation of either A, something happened, B, a little toll off the bigger efforts. And when they're laid off after that, I'm thinking that, okay, maybe it was something, because I like the effort for maiden special weights. Third, number 4, Scarlet Dixie, another horse making a drop. Now, this one is easy to earmark because it's the same racing jurisdictions. When they come in from other racing jurisdictions, it is, I mean, monetarily, you could say making the drop, but I don't know what maiden claimers at Indiana Downs equate to at Gulfstream Park. But this horse ran on December 6th for 25 and now is running for 12.5, 10-1-4 in the 4th.
Moving on to race number 5 at Gulfstream Park, 6 furlongs. It is a claiming event for fillies and mares 3 and up, which have not won 2 races or straight 3-year-olds. The claiming price is $25,000.
And sometimes you just think when you see the odds that I must be missing something, and I'm okay with that because I've learned long ago that you are going to miss things. But 3-7-9 for me. Number 3, Moonlight. I don't get the 10-1 on the morning line with Sebastian Madrid, but I'm happy to go that direction because this horse has only dirt sprinted once in the career. It's actually only been on the dirt once, and I'm very comfortable with that effort at Churchill Downs. The off-the-board finish, I've seen that before, but I like what I saw previous to the final 1/8 of a mile. Now gets back to the dirt for the first time, and I'm more than happy to take a 10-1 shot if you think the idea of synthetic racing, route racing, maybe to build a foundation and now to get to the dirt where I've shown good speed, I'm okay with that. So Moonlight maybe won't lift a foot in the second start since August, but I like my chances making the second career start on dirt. For second, number 7, Quiet Hour. Paco Lopez, who has not missed a beat. There's a couple people right now. There's David Jacobson in New York. He has to win 2 a day. There's Fernando de la Cruz out at Tampa Bay. He has to win 2 a day. Maybe Bob Baffert has to win 3 a day after opening at Santa Anita. But Paco Lopez, good for him because he got out to a blazing start at this meet, and it's going to end. Paco Lopez can start riding better, and his numbers are going to go down because the water is going to get deeper. But Quiet Hour, they added blinkers, and Quiet Hour exploded for Kurt Zadie, who's off to a flying start at this meet. Live combination in here. Quiet Hour with Kurt Zadie. How about this number? 42% off of this type of layoff. And I've talked about this before. I've talked about the daily racing form using these lines that nowadays, 30, 40 days, no trainer that I know of thinks of that as a layoff anymore. So hopefully it was the blinkers. We march on, maiden claimers. Talked about it. 30 years ago, you probably would have gotten a price on Quiet Hour. No longer. For third, number 9, Best Behavior. First off the $10,000 claim. Won on the only dirt try at Fort Erie. I've had good success with horses coming out of Fort Erie. The dirt surface in Canada and coming down to the United States as long as they get another dirt one. 3-7-9.
Yeah, 30 to 40 days off. It's nothing but a breather. There you have Anthony's picks for races 1 through 5 at Gulfstream Park. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll finish out today's Gulfstream Park card. So please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV Network.
I'm Seth Merrill. Join me weekdays at 10 for Racing Across America. We'll look at important races from around the country, get insight from top handicappers and analysts, and preview the upcoming week in racing. That's Racing Across America, weekdays at 10, right here on the OTB TV Network.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, and amazing Vegas-style atmosphere. The Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Thank you for joining us on this Friday morning. Before the break, Anthony gave you his selections for races 1 through 5 at Gulfstream Park. Let's move along to race number 6, mile and 16th on the turf. For 3 and up, it is a claiming event. The claiming price is $35,000.
3-4-9, ladies and gentlemen, as we march on the second half of the card. And presumptive, this horse making only the second start since August, first start since the middle of September, going out for the powerful Chad Brown barn, coming in at the same level, not with the allowance horses this afternoon, after a nice warm-up at Belmont in the autumn. Makes only the second start at Gulfstream. For second, number 4, Sammy Alexander, and I will be looking at this horse closely. They take blinkers off, coming down from Canada. They get the services of Joel Rosario. The part that I'm going to be looking at closely, Brian Lynch is in my crosshairs in a good way, ladies and gentlemen, as somebody who the arc could be going very, very high. And if you look at the data, you can see he's off to a good start at this meet. For third, number 9, Dancing Lounge. John Service sends out this runner, a rare runner. He's had back-to-back turf races at Parks. That's almost impossible. 3-4-9 in the 6th.
7th race at Gulfstream Park, 1 mile on the turf, a maiden claiming event. For 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, the claiming price is $35,000 down to $30,000.
Now, this is a condition which I had been, seen at Parks Racing and the fairgrounds for years when they've run for maiden tags. It hasn't been 3-year-olds and up, but this is the first time I've come across it at Gulfstream. 10-4-7, and Minstrel Road, who, by the way, is not an offspring of the Minstrel, gets my top pick. Eddie Keneally sends out this runner who's an offspring of Concerto, who ran in one of the worst visual, what was that race? The one at Turfway Park. Don't watch the replay, ladies and gentlemen. But I like the debut. Watch the replay of the debut for Minstrel Road. My top pick, Julian Lepper, who gets the draw. We get a tough post, but 12-1, that's a little heady coming out of New York after I would say this. For me, clearly the type of debut where they move forward. I don't think I'm alone in that boat, but if this horse is 15-1, I am alone in that boat. But, in between horses, up early, kicks it out, good practice. Let's come back for second. Number 4, Profound. A couple things here. Eddie Plisa Jr. has been white hot with Paco Lopez at this meet, A. B, first time tag, huge angle. And I know Hollywood Wildcat was a 3-year-old champion when she beat Sky Beauty 20 years ago, and we think of her as a dirt runner. But Neil Drysdale doesn't make too many mistakes in his career, in my opinion. But his 4-year-old campaign for Hollywood Wildcat, where he was all over the board, even trying turf against flawlessly, I expect her pedigree to be very, very good in here. 4-7, number 7, McElroy. Chad Brown, second off the $50,000 claim, 10-4-7.
Race number 8 at Gulfstream Park, 1 mile. It is an allowance optional claiming event for 3 and out.
4, 1, and 7. And Padilla gets my top pick for Paco Lopez and David Fawkes. And I like the effort going 6 furlongs after 3 consecutive turf races. I was actually surprised to see as nice a hit the board finish. And now I think that was tune-up going 6 to get a mile on dirt for the offspring of With Distinction. Used to be in the Bill White barn, makes the 3rd start, and I'm expecting a move, a little bit of a move forward, going a mile in the same allowance condition after a 6 furlong sprint. Well, I'm not so sure that was this horse's best opportunity. 4-2, the rail, number 1, Golden Lad. Todd Pletcher has already sent out zingers in the last 24 hours. This is an offspring of the tremendous runner and stallion Medaglia d'Oro. 2 1-mile races since leaving Saratoga, beaten at 6-5, scored at 7-10, takes on the next level allowance. For 3rd, number 7, only 1 start since the swell, just a return to the races type of effort. This race, though, a little bit too deep for a 2X. 4-1-7.
9th at Gulfstream Park is 5 furlongs on the turf. It is an allowance race. The abbreviation NC, I'm not sure of. I'm going to say that non-conditional, Anthony?
Usually it involves monies, and what I call dated allowance monies 1 type of thing. It's 5-9-3, and a quick note, because I think it's extremely important. Usually the 5 furlongs, I talked about being suspicious of the rails. Usually the 5 furlongs at Gulfstream Park, the rail's at 108 feet. There's no listing here. Also, Jamaican Smoke, the number 1 horse, is an MTO, making the Deuce, the real rail horse in the turf sprint. Number 7 is also an MTO. 5-9-3, tripping along. Only 1 start since the depth of February. Now Wayne Catalano brings out this runner, exiting stakes races du jour, and usually the classified, I call them classified allowance races, which are very, very popular in Southern California, especially on the turf. These are the type of horses you get at, horses who have been trying to get stakes action, can't quite get it, etc. Tripping along, Luis Saez in the saddle, gets class relief. I know it's not a term I use very often, but I think it's just the type of class relief to get some confidence to get to the winner's circle. For 2nd, number 9, Peggy Joyce. Only 1 race since August 25th. That was a victory. Sprinting 5 at the Meadowlands, so you're thinking about a brilliant, brilliant turf course down there. Paco Lopez there, but Corey Lannery here. And for 3rd, number 3, Shrinking Violet. Wesley Ward and Kent DeSormo. Not a combination I see very often. 5-9-3.
The finale at Gulfstream Park, race number 10, mile and 16th on the turf. Claiming event for 3 and up. The claiming price is $25,000 down to $20,000.
4-2-9, and number 4 is 4-17. Phil Serpy, whose operation is distinctly different from the days of Flying Z Stable, but he sends out this runner with Joel Rosario in the saddle. This horse won on the turf at the Big A, now tries to make it 2 in a row this afternoon for a tag. For 2nd, number 2, Runyon Humor, Kurt Zadie and Dylan Davis, they hook up in here for this runner who has been very, very sharp on the turf in South Florida of late, including 2 races back. A victory for 16 at Gulfstream Park before going over to tougher company, going a mile at Calder. Returns to Gulfstream Park for the first time since October 6th. And for 3rd, number 9, Concert Stage. First off the $25,000 claim for a horse who has shown distinct ability at Gulfstream Park. Now comes off of a long, long layoff where we've seen this horse perform well off freshenings before. 4-2-9 in the finale.
There you have it, Anthony's selections for today's Gulfstream Park card. We're going to take another break, and when you come back, you'll get my picks for Aqueduct. So please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV Network.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Handicappers Report alongside Jeff Carlisle and Matthew Mormino, turning our attention to the Big A on this chilly Friday morning in the opener. 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares open company, maiden claimers 35, racing 6.
Just want to quickly mention before I give you my picks for the opener. Tomorrow, old friends at Cabin Creek, just north of Saratoga, will be holding their 5th annual birthday party for their retired horses. If you're looking for something to do tomorrow, 12 to 3 p.m., tours of the farm, hot soups from local restaurants, auctions, art for sale, and of course a birthday cake. Nice way to spend an afternoon. The opener at Aqueduct today, where they are going to be listed as fast temperatures, mid to upper 30s under bright sunny skies. I'm going to go 2, 4, and 3. The number 2, Delisa. This is a firster by Malibu Moon. I thought it was interesting that there's no gate work showing for this horse. You had to get a gate card somehow. Maybe she didn't have a full-blown work, or maybe there's just one missing. But I think I do like first-time starters and maiden claiming events, and I think the works that I am seeing are pretty darn good, and I really do like that last one. It was a very solid work coming into this race, 101 and change, and I really like to see that. I like to see their best work, the work just prior to coming into their career debuts. This was a $100,000 yearling purchase a couple years ago, so maybe this is a little bit of an after-Christmas special. You could get her for $35,000 today. Again, first-time starter by Malibu Moon, 5-1 in the morning line. Let's put her on top. For second, I went with the number 4, Miss Lavona. Miss Lavona came a bit unraveled in her last race. Essentially, she was eased in the slop. She was up on the pace and just ended up getting beat 44 lengths. That was an off-the-turf event, as I said, in the slop. And I'm going to need Miss Lavona to duplicate her debut effort at Laurel Park, 5.5 furlongs on the turf, where she kind of ran nice and even, was 4th that day. So the cutback in distance, and I'm not overly concerned about the switch to dirt. Anthony mentioned it before with that horse from Woodbine trying dirt for the first time. It's in the pedigree. Dixie Union out of Broad Brush Mare. It's definitely in the pedigree. So at 8-1, let's put her in the second spot. For third, the number 3, Skinny Margarita is my choice. She's dropping down from maiden special weight. She was claimed 3 starts back for $16,000. They took a chance to see if she could elevate up to the maiden special weight events, but had a third, then regressed a little bit. Now trainer Randy Persard is getting a little bit lively, putting her back into a more logical spot for $35,000. 2, 4, and 3 in the Aqueduct opener.
Second half of the early daily double, open company, 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares, optional claimers in for 62, non-winners of 2 other than, also racing 6.
2, 1, and 5 here, and we got a 5-horse field. There's not an awful lot of places to go to try to find some value. I went with the number 2, the Princess. You know, she's in for the allowance condition of portion of this race. She's exiting a solid win at this level and this distance. She has some early foot. I think she's got enough to outbreak the number 4 Trail Walker, and she is posted inside that horse, Rudy Irad. Again, she's 2-1 in the morning line. These 5-horse fields, it's hard to find value in them, and I went with the number 1 Expression as my second choice. Again, she's also in for the allowance condition portion of this race, as she has been her last 3 starts, so she's a little bit stuck in this condition. Again, Junior Alvarado's named aboard. We mentioned yesterday Junior Alvarado suffered a break in his ankle. He's going to be out for some considerable time, so expect some rider changes again. Anything Junior's on today is definitely going to need another rider. And, you know, Expression would benefit if a speed duel does percolates in front of her with the number 2 and the number 4 Trail Walker. Again, no big surprises here. 2-1, and for third, the number 5 Petite Trianon. She's returning from a 5-month layoff. She's tried stake races, her last 2 races, overmatched in the Black Eyed Susan. Then they tried her on the turf in the Christiana Delaware Park. You know, again, she's in for the 62.5. It'll be interesting to see if anybody wants to have her in their barns. So 2, 1, and 5 in the Aqueduct second race. Not an awful lot you can do with it, Anthony.
On to the third race, and as I read it, my presumption here is this is a starter allowance stakes race. For 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares going 6 furlongs in the Are We Dreaming Stakes.
Yeah, and specifically, fillies and mares 3 and up, which have started for a claiming price, and this is a stake race. So, as Anthony said, essentially, it's almost a starter allowance. I went 2, 1, and 5. There's number 2, Vicky's Dancer. There's 8-1 in the morning line for Rudy Rodriguez, and she's exiting a determined win in the New York Stallion Stakes on November 23rd. And I like the fact that she ran well over the inner dirt course last season. So, you know, she handles that inner dirt very, very well. She's coming off a nice win in the New York Stallion Series. And she has 2 bullet works leading into this, which indicates to me that she's retained her fitness and her sharpness. And I like the fact that, you know, I think she's going to be content to stalk the early pace early. Should have a nice setup for her. So at 8-1, let's put Vicky's Dancer in the top spot. For second, I went toward her inside to the number 1, Mary Meadow. You know, Mary Meadow, she's just been meandering through her conditions. She's 2-1 in the morning line. Anthony, I respect the fact that she's consistent and she tries hard every time. I can't put her in the top spot at 2-1. Again, she is consistent. She's coming off a win and a, you know, optional claiming, never won a race other than. So I don't think she's that great that she should be 2-1. As you said, this is kind of a funny kind of condition. But I also expect that she's going to get a little heat up front from the number 6, Laguna Girl. So I think it's going to soften it up for my second choice, number 2, Vicky's Dancer. And a very intriguing horse I have in the third spot is number 5, Galloping Giraffe. I mean, obviously she should be running late. She's coming out of the Grade 3 calmly. She ran in the Grade 1 Alabama, overmatched. But she did finish up well and won the restricted Pumpkin Pie Stakes at 7 furlongs. Just thinking that 6 furlongs might be a little bit too short for her. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. We'll have to wait and see. 2, 1, and 5 in the Aqueduct third race.
On to the fourth, 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. Claimers in for $20,000. Non-winners of 3 lifetime, also going 6.
And this is only a 2-part claiming condition for fillies and mares 3, whichever one, 3 or straight 3-year-olds. There's no conditional date in there. I went 9, 6, and 4. The number 9, Magma. Magma fits the first part of this condition where she's never won 3 races. She's only won 2 races in her career, and they were both in England in the early part of her career. She's come to North America. I guess she's been a little bit overmatched. She's been running at the 2 other than option claiming $62,000 level. Hasn't quite gotten even really a sniff, but they stretched her out last time on the inner track. That didn't go well. They're cutting her back to 6 furlongs, and if you look at her American starts, the 6 furlongs race was maybe the best race of the 3. She finished 6 lengths behind the Princess, who we just talked about in the second race. So if she can repeat that performance at the $20,000 level, which she's in for today, I think she can be pretty tough. So let's put her in the top spot. For second, I went with the number 6, Caitlin's Cat. Caitlin's Cat just didn't take to the stretch out in her previous start, so let's just draw a line through that. She was near the pace, faded. Now they're going to cut her back to a much better distance. She just missed 2 starts back for $35,000, going 6.5 furlongs, and her last victory was at this $20,000 level, so put her in the second spot. And for third and number 4, Yampa River. She's dropping down from the $35,000 level. The last 2 starts, she's rallied mildly to garner third. Again, 8-1 with Rudy Rodriguez. She should be on the board at hopefully a decent little price. 9, 6, and 4 in the Aqueduct 4th race.
Continuing on in the 5th, 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares claimers in for $35,000. Non-winners are 2 races in a lifetime, or the 3-year-olds also going 6.
And this is another 2-parter. Only the number 6 and the number 8 are in for the Never Win 2 life portion. The other ones have won more than that. I'm going to go 9, 8, and 3 here. The number 9, So Blessed, fits the second part, but does have 2 career victories. And, you know, I like to switch to Camilo Velasquez here. Chucky Lopez rode this filly last time and couldn't quite, you know, get close. And I think what Camilo will do with her, he's a better finisher than Chucky Lopez is. We know Chucky's a one-dimensional rider, does a very nice job getting out in the lead with horses and getting to relax and having something to finish. But horses that come from out of it, it's just really not his cup of tea. And I think Cornelia is just going to fit this horse a lot better. She's posted well. I don't think she's going to fall back too far early. I think you'll have her kind of mid-pack, and I think Cornelia will be able to power So Blessed home today in the Aqueduct 5th race. For second, I went with the number 8, Heiress of the Crown. She is one of the 2 that fits the first part, where she is 1 for 19 lifetime. But to get 10-1 again, there's going to be a change of rider because Junior was named aboard. And she was an even second last time out in the Never Win 2 life for $30,000. Again, 10-1, a little bit of value to throw in your mix. And for third, the number 3, Kill Knock Again. Kill Knock Again won her first 2 races early this year in February and March. Then she faltered badly in early May in the New York Stallion Series. She's been on the shelf ever since. I have to think something happened to her that day. Now she's coming back into, you know, a conditional claiming race for $35,000. You know, you can make the case that, well, she broke her maiden for $25,000. Maybe this is what she's really worth. Or you can think that maybe they're trying to unload her, that something went wrong in that day. To me, I wouldn't be surprised if she changes hand today. This is a New York bred that showed a billion in her first 2 starts. But with a little bit of a question mark, I can only put her in the 3rd spot. 9, 8, and 3 in the Aqueduct 5th race.
When we come back, we'll take a look at the second half of today's card at the Big A, visiting 2 turns. Please stay tuned.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Handicappers Report alongside Jeff Carlisle and Anthony Mormino, up to race number 6 on this Friday afternoon's card at the Big A. State bred, 2-year-olds, maiden special weights, racing 2 turns, 1.70 miles.
Once again, we got a sunny winter's day at Aqueduct today. Track should be labeled fast. In the 6th race, I'm going to go 4, 2, and 6. The number 4, Uncle Si, no big stretcher. He's 4 to 5 in the morning line. And this son of Indian Charlie certainly ran well in his first start of his career for trainer Gary Contessa. We know Gary doesn't have him cranked up to win first time out. And this horse darn near got it accomplished, only got beat ahead. He actually took the lead, couldn't hold off groupthink. But the thing was, the 2 of them were 10 lengths better than the horse that was third. So all Uncle Si has to do is repeat that performance. He doesn't even need to progress any to be able to get in the winner's circle today and get that maiden broken. For second, I went with the number 2, Gregarious. You know, he would be the most logical upsetter if for some reason Uncle Si doesn't duplicate his career debut. Gregarious ran a very credible 3rd after a rough start in his debut, and that was going a mile. So that should help him as far as conditioning-wise goes. Got a mile race under his belt, trained by Rick Violette. Again, it's pretty chalky there for the top 2 for me. For third, I threw in the number 3, Giant Joe. Giant Joe will be going turf to dirt, and, you know, he is a New York bred, so this time of the year, there's no turf left for these New York breds. A lot of these outfits don't have the, you know, they're not taking them down to Florida. But he is a son of Frost Giant, who we know they run just about on any surface. He's 8 to 1, and you know what? I'm putting him in front of the 4 to 1, Paxton Terror, the number 8. That one probably going to take a little bit more money, trained by Todd Pletcher off the second start, but Giant Joe finished in front of him last time. and a little bit of a price, I'd like to see him in the mix. 4, 2, and 6, Aqueduct's 6th race.
On to the 7th race. You have 3-year-olds and up. Claimers in for $30,000. Non-winners 3 lifetime or 3-year-olds racing a mile 70.
Yeah, and this is one of them 3-parters where there's a condition in there at the end that haven't won a race on the dirt since June 26th. I went 6, 8, and 1. The number 6, Son of a General. He was the beaten favorite for $25,000 in his prior start at Churchill Downs. Claimed that day by Eddie Keneally. I'm having to think that Eddie Keneally maybe saw something that he liked. He was, if you look even farther back in his form, I mean, he was a distant 4th in the Ben Ally at Keeneland this spring behind Successful Dan and Boisterous. So there's a little bit of back class. Obviously, he's coming down the ladder. So there could be some issues for him. Obviously there's some issues for him. He's not the horse he was in the spring. But Eddie Keneally saw something he liked. Eddie Keneally does a very good job. He has Irad Ortiz aboard. I know Irad's not going to rush this horse. This horse looks like he needs a little bit of time to get his engine revved up, but there should be some pace in front of him. So I think he'll be able to pick up the pieces and get the job done today in the Aqueduct 7th race. For second, I have the number 8, Most Happy Fellow. He fits the 3rd part of this condition where he hasn't won since May. And again, Cornelio Velasquez is taking over this mount. I'm going to be very interested to see what Cornelio does. Will he send him? This horse has a little bit early foot, but he's been kind of faltering his last 3 races. So I'm very interested to see what Cornelio does. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a hold of him and tries to make one late run at 8-1. I think that change to Cornelio makes him interesting in the 2nd spot. For third, the number 1, Tiz Gianni, who's coupled with a horse on the AE for David Jacobson. He fits the 3rd part of this condition also, and he's moving from turf to dirt. This is the son of Giacomo, who won the Kentucky Derby on the dirt, so I don't see why he can't dirt. 4 starts in his career. He's got a win and a 3rd. And the last time he ran on the dirt was at Sunland Park in April, and he was 3rd in the Sunland Park Handicap. So I think the ability to make that transition from turf to dirt is there, and I do want to put him in my mix. 6, 8, and 1 in the Aqueduct 7th race.
8th race this afternoon, open company, 3-year-olds going a mile and the 16th in the Traskwood Stakes.
I went 6, 1, and 7 here. The number 6, Edge of Reality. You know, I need him to run like he did in the Smarty Jones, and I'm experiencing a really bad leg cramp at this moment. If you guys would take me off the camera. I need him to run like he did in the Smarty Jones. And I think what jockey David Cohen's going to need to do is kind of gauge what the number 3 male is going to be doing on the inside. But one thing I do like is that Edge of Reality posted a bullet work on 12:20 coming into this race. So maybe that's a positive indicator that he's going to run an awful lot like he did in the Smarty Jones, and my leg cramp is subsiding. Thank you very much. And I can concentrate now. Edge of Reality, like I said, first time for trainer Phil Serpy. And I like the fact that with that positive, nice work, that maybe he's going to be running that race. He will be toward the front of the race. You know, there's some talk about the number 3 male. I don't have him in my mix as being a horse that probably could progress, but you know, he just won an off-the-turf entry-level allowance race. I know he did finish behind Long River before that. I just need to see if he's able to step up against some horses that, you know, they're not the greatest 3-year-olds in the world, but they do have stakes experience in them. So I'm leaving male off today. I just need to see how he's going to run. The number 1 Micromanage is my second choice down the inside, and he was beaten by Edge of Reality in the Smarty Jones. Turned the tables on him when they ran in the Indiana Derby, was 4th that day. But, you know, Micromanage is, you know, a 2nd or 3rd level 3-year-old. He kind of always just kind of hits that same lick all the way around there. So from the 1-hole Rajiv Mirage, it should be good enough to be on the board. For third, I went with the number 7 West Hills Giant. He's cross-entered tomorrow in the Alex Robb. I'm thinking he's going to run today because he doesn't want to have to face Saratoga Snacks tomorrow. And, you know, these aren't New York spreads, but this horse is consistent. I think he can be on the board if he runs today. If he doesn't run today, I wouldn't mind throwing in number 4 Vegas No Show as my 3rd choice. His last 2 races haven't been good, but he does have stakes experience, and you always have to respect Kelly Breen. So 6, 1, and 7 in the Traskwood.
In the finale, New York State breds, 3-year-olds and up, maiden claimers in for 16, racing 6.
1, 7, and 8 here. The number 1, Giulio Cesare. He's my top choice. I think this is a horse that Chucky Lopez does fit very, very well. Giulio Cesare didn't follow up in his second start. That pretty nice career debut he had where he set the pace and held on, finished fourth that day. He only got beat a neck. Then his next race, he just never got involved. One thing Chucky's going to do, Chucky's going to send him out of that at one hole, and I think at 6-1, there's a little bit of value there, and obviously a pretty weak field for State Bred, maiden 16,000. For second, I went with the number 7, It Matters, 12-1 the morning line. You know, at least he got a race under his belt, $35,000 State Bred level. He just never really got involved, but a race under his belt for trainer Billy Turner, 12-1 with a hungry young apprentice on. Let's throw him in the mix. Why not in a race like this? And for third, the number 8, Harsh. Harsh is dropping down to 16,000. He's only had one race this year, so to me that's a little bit of a question mark. He ran 3 times last year, then came back in mid-October. We haven't seen him since. They're dropping down for 16,000. A little bit of a question mark. I'll throw him in my mix. 1, 7, and 8 in the Aqueduct 9th race.
And that wraps up our look at the Big A for this afternoon. And if you missed any of Jeff's selections from the Big A or mine from Gulfstream Park, if you go to capitalotb.com, you will get those selections on the Handicappers Report this afternoon. On the television side, the network, our schedule is as follows. It follows. We have one. It's
Hang in there.
Eli's coming. All right, then. Well, also, you go, there it is, the Big A, Gulfstream Park, Hawthorne, some other engagement, Fairgrounds this afternoon, Santa Anita, Day 2, Penn National, Delta, Meadowlands, Woodbine, and then Australia A and B to take you through the early morning hours. We invite you to go to capitalotbbet.com for our state-of-the-art wagering platform. Get you signed up, and down the road you can get involved in some bankrolls and other goings-on that is available only to our capitalotbbet.com account holders. And in just a couple moments, Seth Merrill will be on board with Racing Across America, and his very special guest will be Brian Spencer from the Fairgrounds and Ron Nicoletti from Gulfstream Park, where I think it is fair to say both jurisdictions will be a little warmer than we are experiencing today. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your action, the horse racing action this afternoon. We'll see you next time.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.